On the Edusites English homepage, we have the different options down the side for the different exam boards. You need to go through to English language and then click on the Brothers Moderation booklet for English language paper 1. Everything that I use today is on that page, and all I've done is simply scroll down. Here's all the different responses and the explanations why, and I've just highlighted and copied and pasted, and using these I've been able to make things specific for my students, and here I put them into a PowerPoint. I'm going to go through them with you now. So, AQA, English, GCSE, English language, explorations in creative reading and writing. So on this paper is the one with just one text, and the text we're using is a short story. It's an entire short story in itself. It's called Brothers, and today we're going to have a look at that question 4, which is the evaluative question. So this is the short story. Students read it initially. You've got two brothers, Kieran and Niall. They go fishing together, haven't seen each other for a while, and it all goes rather badly. Question 4, this will take two different styles. You'll either have the author brings the characters to life, or you'll have a statement where a student has to agree to an extent. Both questions you sort of take a similar sort of approach in your analysis in so much of the phrases that you'll use, but this style of question came up on the June exam and in the November resit, and this is the one we're going to look at today. So focus this part of your answer on the end of the source. A student said, "This part of the story, just before Kieran falls overboard, makes you think he is a cold and heartless person, and Niall is justified in his actions and is right to not save him. To what extent do you agree?" And then you get 3 bullet points. Consider your own impressions of the characters, evaluate how the writer creates the impressions of the characters, and support your response with references to the text. So, the great thing about this question is that with question 2 and question 3, you have to be very careful about what you talk about. You cannot talk about structure in the language or language in the structure. But for question 4, it's a free-for-all. Anything's up for grabs, so a student doesn't have to worry about what to talk about. Any method is acceptable. So any of this is not the only things you can talk about. It's not an exhaustive list. The things they can talk about is whatever they can find in the text. So this is the text, and there's plenty for them to write about. Here's just some of the ideas. Thinking about why Niall was right. You've got the use of flashback, you've got the characterisation of Kieran as a villain, the reversal of fortunes, Niall being the reliable brother and Kieran the unreliable brother, being taken advantage of, the moment when he was arrested. You've got the lock as a symbol in itself of loneliness and the distance between the two brothers. And then thinking about why Niall was wrong to leave his brother to drown. He's anxious from the start, his eyes are watery, he's not very reliable. Niall had committed the crime and was punished. Kieran had no reason to also take the blame. So the use of third person as a method to limit the sympathy to Niall, and you never hear Kieran's version of events. Niall is unwilling to ask Kieran the reason why he has been gone. You've got the description of Niall, rage flooded him, that metaphor and the method of the metaphor. And then you've got the symbolism. So Niall is the trout, part of the circle of life. He should accept that this is his place in the world, and thinking about it in a symbolic point of view. So here are 2 responses. The first one, Niall's behaviour is justified when at the point Kieran is drowning and asking for help, he persists in insulting Niall and calls him a gobshite. This aggression and use of taboo words creates a contrast between the 2 characters. Niall has remained silent throughout the entire trip, whereas Kieran has been aggressive and provocative, even when killing the fish, asking Niall, "Did ya?" aggressively, questioning Niall's own expertise and asserting himself as the more knowledgeable one. At the beginning, we see Niall as possibly quite feeble, but after the relentless insults, even at the point when Kieran needs Niall the most, we see Niall's reaction as understandable, if not justifiable. And then the second response, Kieran is cruel. We know this because in the flashback we discover he was in the car when Niall was caught by the police, but instead of staying with his brother, he just legged it. This desertion suggests that he doesn't really care about his brother, and through this flashback we see Niall has had a lot of abuse off his brother in the past, and it isn't his fault he left him in the lake, he was pushed to it. Everyone has a breaking point, and this was Niall's. So 2 different answers and 2 different marks. The difference with marking this question to the other 2 is that there are 4 different places you're looking to give marks. You're looking for the simple evaluative statement, the method, the references to the text, and the response to the statement. So evaluation and analysis, the method, textual references, and then how they respond to the statement. So in that first answer, the better of the 2, you've got Niall's behaviour is justified, so you're directly linking there to the statement. It uses method when it talks about the contrast and the use of taboo language. It's got references to the text, you've got the gobshite and the did ya, and you've got the evaluation of this at the beginning, but by the end, and the tone of the way that it's identifying the tone, aggressively questioning Niall. So there we can put that into the top band. I gave it 18 because I wouldn't say that was a convincing and critical response to the statement, because it doesn't return to it quite as successfully as one I'm going to show you in just a moment. So I place that at 18 out of 20. The second example isn't as strong. It's attempting, there's some, but I wouldn't say it clearly evaluates on the reader. We've got Kieran is cruel, so it's some response to the statement. It doesn't really directly take that statement and respond to it as successfully as it could. We've got the quotations of legged it, so that is a some textual reference, and then we have the method about the flashback, but it doesn't actually talk about the flashback and analyse or evaluate why that flashback is, like, doesn't evaluate the method itself. It just sort of generally talks about it and talks generally about Niall and his breaking point. So I'd be inclined to give that in this band, or the level 2, and give that a 9. This is a very useful thing to do. So I've again gone back to the Edusites website, where we've got all the question 4 responses, and I've taken one paragraph out of each of these, like this, and then put them into a document and laid it side by side. And doing this, you really get to look at what the difference is between each of those responses and why they get the marks they do. So first of all, you look at where the quotations are, and you can see straight away, 1, no quotations at all, just sort of generally talking about the text. Another one just copies out huge chunks of the text, and these other 2 that use quotations more successfully. Then looking at how they respond to the statement, then thinking about the method, and remembering that all of these sort of things are acceptable for method, and then where is the evaluation, where's the analysis. And there you're seeing that the analysis and evaluation makes all the difference. So here, in that response that we gave 4 marks to, it returns to the statement again and talks about the method again and uses that statement to inform their analysis, and that's why it's so successful. The response where it just gets 7, you've got the very simple suggest he is angry, which they're attempting to talk about it but not really getting very far with it. And in the one that we gave 13 to, it does talk about the symbol and how that symbol has been used and how that impacts upon the statement and how it informs our opinions of Niall, and so that's why that one gets 13. But doing it like this is really helpful to show students where the marks are, and that's an example of it in a book with the comments around it explaining why each part got the different marks awarded. And that's question 4.